Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to do this passcode challenge in React. I think this could be considered as a beginner level question, but I think if you're applying for some junior roles, there's a good possibility that they can ask you a question like that in your technical interview. So it's always a good practice to brush up your basics. So we need to create a passcode of 4 digits. If passcode user selects is correct, show correct password, otherwise show wrong password. So let's see what the preview looks like. So we have a button from 0 to 9, and then we have our real password given already here. So if we type, let's say 5555, then it says wrong password. And if I type it 000, it says correct passcode. So this is what we will be building in this challenge. I have my passcode component here. Okay, so let's get started. So we need to do few things here. So we already have our password here. So we know like we need to find a way, like when we type our password, it stores somewhere, and then that value should be compared with this value. That's probably the easiest way to solve this problem. Okay, so first thing first, let's create an array of 0 to 9, right? So let's give it a name of array num. So we have 0 to 9 here. The reason I give it 0 at the bottom, because you see most of the phones, like you have 0 at the bottom, not at the first. That's why like I put 0 at the bottom. And now we can create a function that will render these numbers. So let's create a function render numbers that will return some JSX. So let's put that inside a div tag, and we need to map over this array, and we will individually show each value as button. So just pass that array num, apply a map method, and we will be looping with a variable called num, and then inside that we will create our button, and inside button we will pass that num value. So let's pass our function here that will return some JSX. If I save it, we will see our numbers, and we can see that we have our buttons from 1 to 9 and 0, and we can click on these buttons. But let's give it some CSS first, so that it looks a little better and we have like some space to click, right? And let's give these buttons some colors as well, so that we can distinguish better. And now we will have our so now it looks a little decent, and it's complaining that we didn't give it some key value. So let's give it a key value here, and we will pass num as the key value for now. So it won't, so we'll pass the num value as key now. Now it looks a little decent, right? So we can press on these buttons. I know right now you cannot see it, but we can like press these buttons. Nothing will happen because we didn't add any event list or anything. So let's do that. We will add our on click here, and then we'll pass some handle click function that will handle whenever user clicks on that. So let's pass that, and we will pass our num here, so that we will know like what number has been pressed, right? So let's pass that, and this will complain because we haven't created that function. Maybe we will create that function after this. So let's give it handle click. It will accept a number num, which will have a type of number. Now we need to do something with it, right? So now what we want is whenever the user clicks it, we need to store that in some kind of array, so that we will have that array, and then we can compare that with our original password. So let's create that here. We'll call it const pressed, and then we call it set pressed. We'll give it a state. We'll give it empty array, and the array will be type of number, so that we don't pass string or anything other than numbers. So what we are going to do is we are going to store whatever we pressed or whatever number we pressed in this variable pressed. So let's use this set pressed setter function, and we will use that to update our pressed value, right? Because we're using use state here. Okay, so inside that we need to find a way that it kind of like concatenates the values, right? First of all, take something called like a previous state, and what we're doing, we will convert that in an array. So we will copy that previous state, and in that we will copy the number we passed. So I need to put that handle click above, because what we're doing, we are calling the handle click function before it's initialized. So let's put that guy here. Okay, so far we just took the previous state, put it inside an array, copied the previous state, and added the num value here, which is coming from whenever we click on these buttons. So far so good. So if we create a use effect hook here, let's create a use effect hook and console log our pressed value, and now come here and then refresh it. So initially it's empty. As we can see, we're passing an empty array here, and if I type 1, it will store one value, 3, 9, 8. So as I'm clicking it, it's storing that value inside this pressed variable. So I think we are pretty close to our solution, because now what we need to do is, all we need to do is compare this with this, right? So let's do that. So if pressed, and because it's an array and we need to change that into strings, so we will use join here, and then we will pass our password here. So if that's correct, we can remove that guy. We don't need that here. If that's pressed, then we need to do something, right? We need to create another variable called password correct, and set password correct, and let's give it initial value of false. Use state and give it initial value of false. So now this is false, and when this is true, I mean when this condition is true, let's make that password correct true. So let's give it a value of true in that case. And now it's complaining because we haven't passed any dependency array. I forgot that part. And now because this will be changing as we're typing, so we need to pass that as the dependency array. But our UI won't do anything because we haven't add any conditional rendering or anything. So maybe let's do that. Let's add that conditional rendering. Create a div here. If we have password correct true, then we will show correct password, right? And if I type it, so we'll see the correct password here. I know the styling is off, but we can fix styling later on. So that part is good. And let's now create another div. If pressed has a length greater than 3, because we need 4 inputs, right? And we have incorrect password here, then we will show wrong password. So here if I refresh it, and if I type, let's say 8888, that says wrong password. This will only show if we type more than 3 times, because our password is 4 digits, and that condition is false, then we will show this message. So I think we are pretty much here. Where is our preview? So right now what's happening is, if we are typing it, see, we are seeing these stars, but over here we're seeing these numbers. Oh, we are not even seeing a number because I didn't put that logic. We don't want to see the numbers here, so let's create another use state hook. Give it a star, a string value, an empty string value, and a setter function. So when this function, when we click it, what we want is when we click something, we should see a star here, right? So let's add that logic, and when we click it, we are using this hand click function. So if we go to here and click, then what we can do is we can set star, and what we can do is we can take our star variable and we can concatenate with a star or asterisk, whatever you want to call it. So whenever we click a button, a new asterisk will be created, and then as we click it, it will concatenate that with the previous one. Okay, so let's add that as well down here. If we, let's add that div here, and let's just add star here. So if I click something, we will see we have these stars here, right? And then wrong password, that's fine. And right now we can have like as many stars as we want, so let's limit that by condition rendering again. So star dot length is less than 4, and then only show. So if I refresh it, 5 which is 2 stars, and then wrong password. We are, I think, almost done. So let's just fix the styles. So as we type here, guess wrong password. So I just gave it some style so that we can, it looks like this, but most of the time, like, the interviewer won't even care about like styling anything, but I'm doing this in case like you're wondering how to do that. Yeah, so I think that's the solution right here. It does what it asks us to do, and yeah, and I'm keep on adding new questions. So if you're interested, you can try these questions, and my target is to add like a question a day. Yeah, so that's all from today's challenge, and I'll see you next video with new challenge. Thanks a lot for watching.